When I was younger, I wasn't a great student, and looking back, I think that I should have worked a bit harder at school. If I had worked harder, I might have got better results. In reality, I got decent results in my exams, so I can't have been a terrible student and must have understood the material quite well. Perhaps you recognise some of the verbs in that quote. Should, must, can't, and might. They're all modal verbs, but they're used here to speculate about the past. In this video, we're going to look at how to use past modal verbs. But first, let's quickly revise what modal verbs are. Modal verbs are a special group of verbs including can, should, and must that are different to most verbs in a couple of ways. Firstly, there isn't much conjugation with modal verbs. They're pretty limited. So we could say, I can, you can, he can, she can, they can, we can. It's the same for all people or persons. The other interesting thing about modal verbs is if we use a verb after a modal verb, it has to be in the bare infinitive. That is the infinitive without its to. So we would say, I can swim, but not I can to swim. Be careful with this. It's a common mistake that a lot of students make. If you want to revise the basics of modal verbs a bit more, just follow the link below. But today we're talking about how to use modal verbs to speculate, deduce, or make recommendations in the past. So what are past modal verbs? If I say, I should study, I'm talking about what I think would be a good idea now, as we use should to make recommendations or describe what we're supposed to do. If I say that I should have studied, I'm talking about what would have been a good idea for me to do or what I was supposed to have done in the past. Let's have a look at how to form past modals. This is how we use a past modal verb to speculate or talk about the past. We always combine a modal verb with the auxiliary verb have and then a past participle. There are various modal verbs that can be used in this way. Should or ought to, must, may, might or could, and can't. When do we use each of these? Let's have a look at some examples. When you're sure of something in the past, we use must. So we combine must and the auxiliary verb have and a past participle. For example, Tom's car isn't here. He must have gone out. If you aren't sure of something, if you're speculating about the past, you can use may or might or could combined with have and a past participle. For example, he might have gone to the supermarket. When you're sure that something in the past is impossible, you can use can't combined with have and a past participle. For example, he can't have gone to work. It's Saturday. If you're making recommendations about the past, you can use should or ought to combined with have and a past participle. For example, he should have told me he was going out. Let's have a look at each of these in a bit more detail. When we're talking about the past and we're sure of something, we can use must and the auxiliary verb have and a past participle. For example, if you bought some milk yesterday and now there is none left, you can think that somebody must have drunk it. Or if you parked your car somewhere and when you got back it's gone, you could speculate that somebody must have stolen my car. Got it? Let's have a look at may have, might have, and could have. If you're not sure about something in the past, but you have an idea that something was a possibility, you can use might have, or may have, or could have. If I put my hand in my pocket and I can't find my wallet, I could speculate that someone stole it. I might say, someone might have stolen my wallet. Or maybe I just left it at home. I might have left my wallet at home. Or perhaps I left it in a shop. I could have left my wallet in the shop. In this context, may, might, and could are synonymous. They all mean the same thing. You can use them interchangeably. Next, we have can't have. If you're sure that something in the past was not possible, you can use can't have. For example, if I ask a friend to come to the premiere of a film with me, but they say that they've seen the film before, I could say, you can't have seen the film before. It was only released today. This is the premiere. Or if someone says that they saw me in the street yesterday, but I was at home all day, I could reply that you can't have seen me in the street yesterday. I was at home all day. Be careful here. Although we use must have when we're sure that something happened, we don't use mustn't have when we're sure that something didn't happen. We use can't have. Finally, let's have a look at should have. You can use should to make suggestions. When we're talking about the past, we can use should combined with have and a past participle. For example, if I failed a test because I hadn't studied, I would think that I should have studied. Or if I forget an important phone number, I might think that I should have written it down. That is to say that these things would have been a good idea. And that's everything you need to know about how to use modal verbs in the past. Let's have another look at all of these verbs in context with an example. So, if I'm in my apartment and I can't find my keys, I can logically say that I must have had my keys when I came home, or I wouldn't have been able to open the door. This means that I can be quite certain that I had my keys, or it would have been impossible to get into the flat. Similarly, if I'm thinking about where I left my keys, I can speculate by saying, I may have left my keys in my jacket pocket, or I might have left them on the table by the door, or I could have left them in my trouser pocket. However, if I'm sure that it's impossible that I lost my keys outside the apartment, I can say, I can't have lost my keys at the pub because I used them to open the door when I came home last night. Similarly, I can also tell myself what I should have done, what would have been a good idea, by saying, I should have put my keys in the bowl by the door. Then I wouldn't have this problem now. You can check that you understand how to use these verbs with the free interactive exercises below. You can also find information about how to register for our free English courses. If you're watching on YouTube and found this useful, please consider clicking like and subscribe so that you'll see more of our videos in the future, and keep on learning.